Waiting for Your Call is the ninth track on Frozen in Time, and the only song from it that would fit better being played while riding a horse. It's a country bluegrass song and not afraid to be one, and I love it for that. Now, I know Jacob has made posts about Waiting for Your Call being a coming out song, and about people who don't accept you for who you are not being worth your time, which just means I had most of this script written for me. So, without further ado, let's get into it. The song begins with Ace leaving his house and getting in his car. The lyrics:
You waited for me to fall so low as I lived my little life.
are most likely a jab at his former girlfriend for leaving him at his worst and with little to no signs that this was happening.
You told me I should take the high road, as if the low was not your home.
Is another attack on his girlfriend, telling her she's being a hypocrite for asking Ace to take the high road when she never did. This is one part where I have to bring up the themes of the song in order to explain the lyrics. Asking someone to take the high road can often be used as a buffer for their bad actions and a way to absolve them of the consequences, essentially letting them take the low road. I'm pretty confident Jacob wrote this to be a metaphor or analogy or whatever to how unaccepting families deal with family members coming out as LGBTQ+, and I'd say it works well. And then the song gets weird after that.
I'm stuck in line to catch a plane while riding you. Funny how all my luggage is folded to. Pounds over safety regulation.
This line directly implies that Ace is still not over his girlfriend and still desires her approval. I have no clue what the
Pounds over safety regulation.
means, so please tell me in the comments if you know.
Did I pack too much? Did I say enough? Can you hear me now? While begging on your knee.
Builds on the idea that Ace still wants his ex's approval and is willing to do a lot to get it. He still hasn't moved on and is still thinking about her, while she most likely isn't thinking about him. And then we get to the chorus, the most important part for our discussion today.
I had to be there for me. I had to learn to be free. But all you had to do was tell me that you were waiting for my call.
Ace had to help himself move on and become free of his ex's influence, something we can see he still isn't. He literally had to be there for himself. But just his girlfriend telling him she wasn't thinking about him would be enough to bring him back to where he started. Getting heavy for a second, this could be seen as an analogy for addiction. You can do all the work to make yourself better, but all it would take would be one time, one offer, one call, and you're back to where you began. And it can also be seen as an analogy for the song's overarching themes. Jacob had to be there for himself because no one else would be, and he had to learn to be free from influences of people who weren't accepting him. The second verse starts with,
I grabbed my bag and hit the highway, so far from what you control.
This is a pretty unambiguous message of getting out of toxic environments and the people who don't accept you, escaping from their influence. However, it could also be taken as Ace taking the high road like he was told to in the first verse, showing that there is some lingering control, even in defiance.
Signs speak of our new life by the bay. You're in here rent free.
Is an obvious jab at the housing market in San Francisco and how his girlfriend is a leech that doesn't pay rent and should be evicted. Seriously though, this line speaks to the lingering control his ex has on him, and how even in a new life, he's still thinking about her all the time.
I'm stuck in time inside my mind while writing you. Funny how every memory is an excuse.
Just restates a lot of what we already knew about Ace. He's unable to let his girlfriend go and move on without her. He's literally stuck in time. Frozen in time, perhaps? Every memory of their life together is an excuse to not move on, because he's looking back with rose-tinted glasses on a relationship that became deeply unhappy and toxic without him realizing it. The outro is the chorus again, but this time without the last word. Instead, just ending on weren't.
I had to be there for me. I had to learn to be free. But all you had to do was tell me that you were.
This could be trying to show Ace realizing he has ceased to be on his ex's mind and that she's not going to call him. He may have been holding out for one last hope, one last call to let him know that he's not alone, but that's something he doesn't get. He doesn't have anyone but himself, and he needs to continue healing on his own.